All right, let's dive into something critical in AI development that honestly, most people ignore until it's a complete disaster. We're talking about model retirement. You can think of it as a secret expiration date stamped on the AI your entire app relies on. So picture this, right? You go to bed, your application is running perfectly, everything's great. You wake up and your phone is just blowing up. There's a system-wide failure, users are furious, and yet you haven't changed a single line of code. How is that even possible? Well, in the world of generative AI, it's not only possible, it's pretty much inevitable. And get this, it's not a bug. It's a direct side effect of how incredibly fast AI is moving. See, the models we're all building on, they aren't temporary. They're designed to be temporary, and that's a massive shift from how we're used to dealing with traditional software. And that brings us to this idea of the AI expiration date. With a normal software library, you could use the same version for years if you wanted to. But large language models, they basically come with a best before date. The very progress that makes this whole field so exciting is also what creates this huge, unique risk. So what exactly is model retirement? Well, it's when a provider, like OpenAI or Azure, just decides to shut down an older version of a model. If your application is still pointed at that old version, poof, it just stops working. End of story. And that forces you to migrate, whether you were ready for it or not. Now, this isn't a new problem, but the cycle is speeding up like crazy. Just look at this timeline. Back in 2020, GPT-3 came out, and everyone started building on it. Then, just 2 years later, the Codex API got deprecated, which was a real wake-up call for a lot of developers. The pace just keeps increasing. Now, in 2024, brand new models are pushing even fairly recent versions of GPT-4 out the door. Okay, so we get the what and the why, but let's talk about the so what. What are the actual consequences when a model you depend on just disappears? This is where the theoretical problem becomes a very real-world headache. We're talking downtime, lost revenue, and a serious blow to your reputation. And this isn't some old news. This headline is from February 2024. OpenAI announced they were retiring a bunch of their older GPT 3.5 models. For any teams who weren't prepared, this immediately turned into a 5-alarm fire drill. Just a mad scramble to update their systems before the cutoff date. The AI engineer Chip Hewen absolutely nailed it with this quote. She said the lifespan of an LLM in production is way shorter than what we're used to with traditional software. And that's the core of it. We're used to a marathon, but building with LLMs is like a series of sprints. Our entire engineering mindset has to adapt. And hey, don't think this is just an OpenAI issue. A few months later, Microsoft announced depreciation dates for its GPT-4 models on Azure. This just confirms it's an industry-wide practice. It doesn't matter which platform you build on, this problem is universal. Even the providers themselves get it. This quote from OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, really captures that tension. They want to push innovation and give us the best models, but they know those painful transitions, as he calls them, are the real-world fallout we're all dealing with. And let's not forget the human cost here. This isn't just about code. It's that jolt of pure panic when your pager goes off in the middle of the night because your service is down. It's the frustration of having to drop everything to refactor code because of a decision somebody else made that you have zero control over. That emotional cost is very, very real. All right, enough of the bad news. The good news is we can prepare for this. We can actually engineer our systems to be resilient. It's time to talk about building your defense system. And really, this isn't just about avoiding pain. It's about adopting the kind of professional MLOps practices that separate the great teams from the good ones. Look, if you remember only one thing from this entire explainer, please make it this. The single most important principle is to decouple your app from the model. You have to create a separation, a buffer zone, so that a change in the model doesn't force a change in your core application. So how do you actually do that? Well, it boils down to about 4 steps. First, you have to know what you're using, so audit all your model dependencies. Second, build that buffer layer we just talked about, things like model wrappers or an AI gateway. Third, you have to test any new model to see how it behaves differently. And finally, don't just flip a switch. You want to migrate your traffic over the new model gradually. Let's look at the specific patterns that make those steps possible. An AI gateway is the perfect tool to act as a central router, to switch traffic gradually. Abstraction layers are how you build that buffer, hiding the model-specific code. And automated evals? Think of them like unit tests for your model's quality, making sure the output is still what you expect. You put these things together, and suddenly you've got a system that can actually handle these changes. So we've covered the problem, the pain, and the path to a solution. The final question now isn't about the technology, it's about preparation. For everyone out there building with these amazing tools, it really just comes down to one question. Are you ready? You can use this as your checklist to get ready. It starts with a mindset shift. Just accept that models are temporary. They come and they go. After that, it's all about proactive engineering. Decouple your logic, use a gateway to stay in control, automate your quality checks, and crucially, plan your next migration before it becomes an emergency.
Because when that next deprecation email lands in your inbox, and trust me, it will, is your system going to be a fortress designed for this reality? Or is it going to crumble like a house of cards, built on the false hope that today's model will be around forever? The choice and the responsibility is all yours.